fire the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics?
Because I think her numbers were wrong. Just like I thought her numbers were wrong before the election. Days before the election, she came out with these beautiful numbers for Kamala. I guess Biden/Kamala. And she came out with these beautiful numbers trying to get somebody else elected. Then right after the election, I think on the 15th, November 15th, she had an $800,000 or $900,000 massive reduction. Said she made a mistake. That woman's numbers are.
So that is a visibly confused Donald Trump being confronted about his wildly controversial and dangerous firing of a Bureau of Labor Statistics commissioner for getting a jobs report that he doesn't like. There's so much to unpack here. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. So he just admitted it. The reason he fired her is because he didn't like her numbers. It's that simple. He didn't like the numbers. They were politically inconvenient for him. So just before we go on to the next clip, just want to say a couple of things. Number one, she was appointed by President Biden in 2023. Trump has liked many of the jobs numbers that she has produced under him over the past 6 months. Not all, but some. So if she were incompetent or politically motivated, why wouldn't she just be giving him consistently bad numbers? Why would she ever give him numbers that he ever liked? That doesn't make much sense, number one. Number two, if she were politically motivated or partisanly driven, why would there have ever been an 800,000, not dollar, he said dollar, 800,000 downward revision of the jobs accumulated in 2024? She would just never have admitted that. That would never, those numbers would have never been revised if she were somehow controlling the numbers and cooking the books for Biden, number two. Number three, he's just making it clear that he wants a MAGA partisan to give him numbers that he likes. It's a stunning, stunning admission from someone who's very corrupt, incredibly stupid, and in a state of cognitive decline. Like, none of that made any sense whatsoever. Before we play the other clips, the Bureau of Labor Statistics commissioner just released a statement. So Trump's former BLS commissioners released a statement following the news that Trump fired the BLS commissioner today. Quote, "This baseless, damaging claim undermines the valuable work and dedication of BLS staff. The president seeks to blame someone for unwelcome economic news. The commissioner does not determine what the numbers are, but simply reports on what the data show." Correct, which is why so many people are upset that he's done this. It's like a North Korean, Soviet Union style, purge of anything that looks at all unwelcome. He's confronted about that too. What happens if you get information you don't like? But let's play some of the other clips because, again, this news has just rocked the economic world.
You said the jobs report today were rigged.
Oh, yeah, I think so. And if you look at before the election, the same kind of thing happened. And I think you'll see some very interesting information come out. But you have to have honest reports. And when you look at those numbers, or when you look at just before the election, and then after the election, they corrected it by 800,000 or 900,000 jobs, yeah, I would say so.
But again, his hypothesis is really stupid. Why would they correct the numbers if it were about rigging the election for President Biden or Vice President Harris? If they're that ideologically motivated, they would just never have corrected the numbers. Downward revisions happen all the time. Under Trump, under Biden, under Obama, under Bush. This is nothing new. Trump's just too stupid and dishonest to pretend otherwise. He just doesn't like the fact that the Bureau of Labor Statistics, his Bureau of Labor Statistics, has determined that only 33,000 jobs were added to the economy in May and June. Not 33,000 in May and 33,000 in June, but together. 19,000 in one month, 14,000 in the other. And that only 73,000 jobs were created in July, which is about 40,000 off from what it should have been. He doesn't like that. That's inconvenient for him. And he's taking it out on somebody and sending a signal. Don't publish bad news. Don't give me bad news. You cook the books. You lie if you have to. Here's another clip.
Going forward, why should anyone trust the numbers?
Well, that's
and if
the big thing. You're right. No, you're right. Why should anybody trust numbers? You go back to election day. Look what happened 2 or 3 days before with massive, wonderful job numbers, trying to get him elected or her elected, trying to get whoever the hell was.
Do you hear that? So he was so the reporter asked a really good question. Okay, moving forward, given you just fired this person for giving you bad news, why should anyone ever trust your new numbers moving forward? Let's say you get a MAGA cultist in there, just anybody in there. Why should anybody trust those numbers reflecting your economy moving forward? And remember, based on our previous video, the Bureau of Labor Statistics is vital for helping the Federal Reserve, which is the central banking system of the United States, set fiscal policy, set inflation rates. You want accurate data there, right? It also is vital for businesses with respect to capital investiture. They need the BLS to be accurate. They need the BLS not to give a fuck about what Donald Trump or Joe Biden, Republicans or Democrats think, and just tell the data, show the data accurately, honestly, irrespective of the politics. Trump has just made that impossible. No one else, Donald Trump alone, has politicized the BLS. And he's like, that's a good question. Like, nobody should trust the numbers. What are you saying, bro? Are you stupid? Of course he is. But he has just potentially just doomed the last 3.5 years of his administration moving forward and the economy as a consequence. Because who can trust this moving forward?
If any government official going forward is presenting data or information you don't like, should they fear for their job?
I've always had a problem with these numbers. You know, I was thinking about it this morning. Before the numbers that came out, I said, who is the person that does these numbers? And then they gave me stats about before the election. I had a similar problem. I mean, she gave out numbers that were so good for the Democrats. It was like unbelievable. And then right after the election, she corrected those numbers with, I think, almost 900,000 corrections. I think nobody had ever seen anything like it. Well, today she did the same thing with the 253,000, whatever the number was. No, we need people that we can trust. I mean, your question is a very good one. We need people we can trust.
He doesn't answer the question, because then the question is, do people who give you information you don't like, even if it's the truth, do they need to fear for their jobs? It's a very good question. You didn't answer the question. And a smarter, this is the thing about him. The thing that makes him, I don't know if this makes him more or less dangerous. I keep going back and forth on this because, yes, he's authoritarian and vengeful and sociopathic and dangerous, but he's also incredibly stupid. And I don't know if it would be better or worse that he were smarter, but a smarter Trump, who has all those other terrible qualities, would have said, no, of course, people who give me bad news need not fear for that. The only thing people need fear is if they come to me with lies. That's what he should say. The only thing people should fear bringing me are lies. If they bring me the truth and the truth isn't good news for me, but it's the truth, they will never need fear for their jobs because I care about the truth, whether it's what I want to hear or not. I just think that these are lies. I just have evidence to believe that these numbers are lies and then present the evidence. But he won't do it. He's made it abundantly clear. It's about telling him what he wants to hear. Staggering. So let's take a look at the backlash on social media. It's trending. Trump fires labor chief after jobs report. Donald Trump fired Erica McCanter, the commissioner of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, after the release of a July jobs report. The report indicated that only 73,000 jobs were added, below expectations of 110,000, with downward revisions in prior months' figures and the unemployment rate rising to 4.2%. This action occurred amid ongoing economic assessments. Let's just look at the reaction here. Bernie Sanders. No, Mr. President, in America, you do not fire the head of Bureau of Labor Statistics for releasing a jobs report that you don't like. That's what authoritarians do. We need a serious economist in these positions, not hacks who will only tell you what you want to hear. I'm curious if there's... I'd love to see, economists, conservative and otherwise. I can't wait for the Wall Street Journal and the National Review to jump into this because I guarantee you, even they're like, fuck, this isn't good. This isn't good. We'll see. Of course, Laura Loomer's celebrating. Nick Sortor is celebrating. Today was the last jobs report you can trust under this administration, and it shows the weakest jobs market since the last recession. Unquestionably, the most dangerous and corrupt attack on the independence of U.S. economic data in American history. Trump is firing the head of the BLS, a longtime civil servant, confirmed 86-8 by the Senate. That's the other thing, too. Erica McCanter was confirmed overwhelmingly by a staggering supermajority of the Senate. It wasn't just Democrats. The vast majority of Republicans voted for her as well, including, by the way, then Senator J.D. Vance, current vice president. simply because the jobs numbers came in under expectations today. Charlie Sykes founded the Bulwark, a conservative anti-Trump Republican, says, and that is the last non-Trumpified jobs report we will ever see. Geiger Capital, Trump supporter, by the way, Trump orders firing of labor statistics commissioner. This is an account that supports Trump. Says we're going full-blown banana republic, indeed. Elizabeth Warren, instead of helping people get good jobs, Trump just fired the statistician who reported bad jobs data that the wannabe king doesn't like. Mehdi Hassan, again, great point. Also, can job numbers be fully trusted now moving forward? Sarah Longwell, never Trump Republican. Trump is firing people for publishing statistics about the damage he's doing to the economy. Stunning. Trump is firing the woman who oversees the calculation of the government's job numbers, accusing her of putting politics above accuracy. But what is Trump firing her for? For overestimating job growth every month he's been president, or for correcting those mistakes today? Heather Long, again, economic journalist, says Trump is firing the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics after weak jobs data. BLS put out jobs reports, CPI inflation, productivity, and unemployment cost index, among other key statistics. This is basically unprecedented and will raise concerns about U.S. data integrity moving forward. That's being charitable. Charitable. The totally groundless firing of Erica McCounter, my successor as Commissioner of Labor Statistics at BLS, sets a dangerous precedent and undermines the statistical mission of the Bureau. For a full statement opposing this move, read. Yeah. Oh, yeah, we read part of that statement. This is stunning. Yeah, folks, this is Robert Reich, former labor secretary under President Clinton. Don't like the numbers, just fire the person responsible for gathering them. Trump's doing what every tyrannical regime has always done, wiping out the truth and replacing it with lies. Like I said, I'm curious if we see... Oh, the labor secretary echoed Trump's concerns, said the deputy commissioner would serve as acting commissioner during a search. The replacement... William Beach, who led the Bureau during Trump's first term, criticized the move. It's unfortunate, he said, quote, this could set a precedent where bad news on many different fronts is a reason for dismissing a person. Mr. Beach, who was appointed by Trump in 2019 and remained in the role for the first 2 years of the Biden administration, said he never felt pressured to manipulate the data under either president. Even if there were such pressure, he said, there is, quote, no way the commissioner could interfere in the revisions process, which is conducted by career employees. Until now, however, most experts on the statistical system said they remain confident in the data produced by the agencies and had seen no evidence of political interference in their operations. Current and former agency staff members consistently echoed that message. In part, they said, because they trusted Dr. McIntarfer, I'm butchering that name, and her counterparts at the other major statistical agencies to protect their independence. Quote, if that pressure got too great, you would see people resigning rather than shape the numbers, Mr. Beach said. Economists across the ideological spectrum on Friday said Trump's move to oust the commissioner was likely to erode public confidence in the data published by the administration. Quote, if you want people to stop trusting numbers coming out of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, firing the person who is confirmed by the Senate to make sure those numbers are trustworthy is a real good way to do it, said Martha Gimbel, the executive director of the budget lab at Yale, who served in the White House under President Biden. Yeah. Michael Strain, an economist at the conservative American Enterprise Institute, said, quote, President Trump is completely wrong in asserting there's been any sort of anti-Trump bias in the labor market data. I think that assertion is wholly unsupported. Mr. Strain said that government data is revised frequently and that doing so reflected a, quote, standard practice to ensure its quality. In this case, he acknowledged that the change was, quote, historically large, but, quote, doesn't smell fishy, citing a range of possible causes from declining response rates to underfunding at federal agencies. All right, folks, there you have it. Donald Trump was confronted to his face about this wildly controversial and incredibly dangerous firing, and he doubled down on the very worst interpretations of it. At the end of the day, it's simply he got news that he didn't like, and he is risking incredibly important economic data, which is relied on by the Federal Reserve and businesses moving forward because it's politically inconvenient for him, and he's pissed, and his ego is wounded. Shocking stuff. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.